Hey, this is John Levin of Dawkins, and you're watching CMS TV.
I think we love it over here at the CHRIS Akin Presents show as well. It's coffee brand coffee. So get yourself some. And while you're getting yourself some, if you go on to Amazon to order it online, why don't you pick up the latest from Sweet Lynch? It's called Heart and Sacrifice. It came out a couple of weeks ago. And a guy that secretly wrote quite a bit of this record and is just quickly becoming a songwriter to the stars. This guy. Mr. Giancarlo.
Dude, I was setting up my 80s videos for you guys.
There we go. No, that's all right.
That background, so if you see New Kids on the Block.
There we go. Awesome.
Hammer, don't judge me.
I was trying to think of summertime stuff. I was almost going to try to find like a Will Smith summertime video, like like a scene from that to put up. I couldn't find something that funny, and I was trying to see how long it would take for the fans to know what background this even is or what movie this is from.
Nobody's guessed.
Let me see. Can I guess?
Go ahead. Please
Is that the Goonies?
Not the Goonies, but you're close.
Close,
the time
I'll think
period.
Is it Ghoulies?
Yeah.
Nobody's gotten it, huh? I mean, I'll say it.
Nobody's got it.
It's probably time, but
Yeah, it's probably time. It's been a half hour.
From the movie One Crazy Summer.
Never seen it.
Never saw it.
You guys have never seen One Crazy Summer?
No.
Damn.
80s, I'll watch it. I'll go back and watch it.
It's 80s. You got to go watch One Crazy Summer, man.
Nice.
We'll watch a trailer later, but we're talking to you right now. We want to know about
That's
the Sweet Lynch record, man.
Well, not only about Sweet Lynch. I mean, we could start there.
Yeah, whatever you guys want. I got a hat on so nobody mistakes us because we have the same
That's right.
thing
They know we
going.
have the same barber.
Yeah, ourselves.
Mr. T.
Well, mine was like just looking like a bad version of Kip Winger meets Ron Jeremy. It was just getting ratty. And I think unless Michael Sweet has great hair, so he can keep it. Mine was getting just, so I'm like, zzz. But if I cut it too short, I look like an Italian painter. But I wanted to wear my hat because we might get confused for each other.
That's right.
Nothing wrong with that, but maybe they'll have a double vision. Let me put this.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, dude,
let's talk. Yeah.
Let's talk. Let's share with the people who you are. I know you did my other show and we just rambled for a long time, but this new audience, so why don't we start there, man? Tell everybody all about Giancarlo Floridia and everything that you're working on, because it is a lot of stuff.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff I can't release yet because
Sure.
Italian record company.
Sure.
That's right.
What did you say? I grew up, my dad was Italian, so, and my whole family. So you got to kind of, So there's a bunch of other stuff that I'm writing. I'm already going into next year with like 3 other albums. There's 2 already coming out after Sweet Lynch I could talk about because they've already talked about it. One is the Lynch Mob Babylon album, which they're already playing songs for it live. I co-wrote that whole thing. And then Michael's upcoming solo album that he's already been talking about. It's like a retro flashback. It sounds like, God, like the Rocky IV soundtrack or Bloodsport. It literally sounds like if Michael quit Striper around In God We Trust and did a solo album in like a pop movie theater vein.
Right.
The fans are going to go crazy. I really love it.
Is the song called Eye of the Striper?
They're Eye of the Yellow and Black Tiger. It's
the Eye of the Striper.
Yeah. So I got to buckle down prison. But it's really cool. It's what a lot of the fans have asked for because I see it a lot. Why don't you guys do something like an 80s thing again, like a more pop? Because Striper's gotten heavier and very retro. When I'm showing it to people, like, whoa, I feel like I'm in a time machine. It's that old school. And Alessandro produced it, and then I did the rest with Michael.
Okay.
So it's killer. And they'll start talking about that soon, and then Lynch Mob soon. Lynch Mob's already being talked about further because they're playing the songs live. That's a whole other bit, but that's for you.
That's on them.
That's on them, but I'm not gonna. They're already. I don't talk about the stuff they're not talking about.
Right.
Like some other cool stuff. There's one other one I'm working on with Alessandro that I was hoping will come out this year. Chris knows what it is.
I do.
But I don't know if it's going to make the cut for the end of the year. But so it's cool. It's going to be cool. And then, of course, I work on all the videos for Frontiers. So there'll be a lot cool music videos, production assistant. I do script writing for a lot of the LA Guns and the end, the End Machine videos I was in.
Right.
So, but Heart and Sacrifice came out a couple weeks ago, and it's
May
getting
19th.
really good reviews.
Yeah.
And I wrote the whole thing with the guys, and very happy about it. Like I went to see Stryper last night with my son. This dude I met walk right in with my son. He's got a Heart and Sacrifice shirt on.
Nice.
To be with your son and walk in there and see people with the song you wrote eating chicken and salad is it's pretty amazing. I'm trying to get my kids to set some goals,
Sure.
Right.
Like my daughter's doing good with her modeling and all those music videos she's in. She's been getting a lot of gigs. So I'm trying to teach them, like, you don't have to be a musician, but, set some goals for yourself. Are there any 80s videos playing? I got to make sure there's
Commercials.
Virtual reality commercials.
Ricky Martin.
There you go.
There you go.
Now you're talking Chris's language.
Ricky, live in the Vita.
Living la
Yeah,
vida
but the
loca.
reception has been really good. And because their second album was more like a 70s thing. And
Sure.
it was cool. I got to do like a concept record. I had to balance Stryper and Lynch Mob in one package, and the results speak for themselves. And
I don't think people realize how gnarly it is to put yourself into projects like that. Like, and to hear you mentioning multiple ones of this level, I mean, that's pretty amazing, man. I did a couple records for Piercy, for Frontiers, and that aged me by probably a decade. You know what I mean?
Oh boy, where's Chris? Chris got me last time. Now it's you this time.
Yep. Go.
Well, what was going on was I heard an interview on Eddie Trunk with them both, I think on the last album, and Lynch wanted to do he's a free thinking atheist, and then you have Michael, who's the ultimate Christian, right?
Sure.
And the concept that George wanted to do was this concept, not kind of like not an argument, but it kind of intrigued me. But Michael, come on, George said you can't get Michael to sing something he doesn't believe in. So I kind of said it's a really good idea, though. So I kind of would approach each song as a Lynch Mob type or a more Dawkins. And so you have a nice balance of it all. But there are some songs like Will It Ever Change? It Rains Again. There's songs that have a darker edge that Michael wouldn't usually sing about, like inner struggles or having a broken relationship with somebody, or, because Stryper's a very positive band. We kind of pulled them over to the dark side. And when it got too dark, Michael just pulled the lyrics back in, like, this is getting too.
Right.
Right.
So
I love it because you need the yin and the yang, to.
It worked, and I think it's our best record. It's been getting the best response.
Charted, right?
I think, I'm waiting on Billboard, hopefully today or tomorrow from Frontiers. It definitely was selling well. I mean, I saw it. I think when we talked, I saw it on Amazon hit number 35 out of all of the albums.
Nice.
Like not hard rock, like all total
Right.
sales.
Which in 2023 is a very fantastic.
Yeah, usually to get into the top 50, you have to have Little or DJ in your name in order to be there, because they're not putting rock records in the top 50 anymore. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's doing great. The videos got a lot of views. They pushed Revolution Saints really hard too, and this is doing, I think, just as well, maybe better.
I think this is doing better than Revolution Saints.
So. I think people, especially the last song called Leaving It All Behind, a lot of people, matter of fact, the guy I met the other day said, hey, that song Leaving It All Behind is really helping me. I think that song and video really helped push the album because it's just, I don't know, I wrote it from the heart, and there's a magic thing with Michael and George on that song, and I think it really helped the sales. So we'll find out this week.
Well, and the other thing too, and this is just outsider looking in. This is not business, Chris. This is just as an outsider. They didn't do themselves any favors with Revolution Saints by releasing it literally the same time as they released Journey Through Time. So you get two doses of Dean, and like I think one was 1 week, one was the next week. Didn't help, you know. It doesn't help to put him out there 2 times in a week or 2 weeks.
That's interesting because with Sweet and Lynch, both those albums I've done with them, they're finished. I have them on my phone. They're ready to go. I can't say the name of the project yet. Me and Michael came up with a name for that album. Lynch Mob is done. Right. I was thinking the same thing. Are they going to put out it like a month or two later? So they're waiting on those. It's like done, but they're going to wait. That was a smart idea. But that's a good. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I'm such a Dean Castronovo freak. I can't, for the life of me, I can't figure out why this guy ever played drums. Not that he's not a great drummer.
Chris and I struggle with this. How he's not the singer for Journey. We can't get past it.
Yeah, he's got the perfect fit.
He's the perfect voice, and he does it so effortlessly. Like when you watch Arnel Pineda, he's pouring it on. I guarantee you, when he finishes a show, he goes and lays down on a couch for 30 minutes just to regroup.
I want to go home.
Yeah, just to regroup.
Said that in the interviews, I want to quit.
But then you see Dean, and I mean, Dean's playing the drums and singing, and and he's effortless with all of it, and he's so talented. We can't figure out why he's not the singer. I asked him once, and he said that he just liked playing drums, but I can't believe that way back in the 80s somebody didn't hear that voice and say, "Wait a minute, dude, we can make millions of dollars with you."
It has the warmth, the Steve Perry warmth that Arnold is a great singer. He has endurance. He's been doing this for years, hundreds and probably shows a year. But when you hear Dean's singing those Journey songs, it's just like you think it's Steve Perry.
It's incredible. My son, Chris, I had obligations with Frontiers with this band called The Big Deal to open up for Kiss on the Kiss Cruise, and I was going to do the videos for Revolution Saints. But I mean, I had 2 things going on with labels, so my son did those new videos.
Okay,
production stepped in for me and did a great job. And I did the first ones, not the first, the last album, When the Heartache Is Gone and all those. I'm in the video for Talk to Me. You can see me walking in with Dean. And Dean would like do warm-ups in the bathroom, sing it. And you're just like, oh, man, this guy's, he's like in there. Oh,
getting goosebumps.
Really good. But speaking of my son hit me up. He's like, "Dad, have you heard of Steve Vai?" I'm like, "Dude, I used to have his poster."
Yeah, heard of Steve Vai.
He's going good. Yeah, he's 20. Okay. And of course, and I got my son a couple Steve Vai things, and my son hung out with Dean and likes him a lot. And,
sure.
And I said, "Whoa, Dean played on these. Dean did the drums on. I got him Passionate
Warfare,
and another one.
That's the one."
And I didn't realize that Dean played on those. He did a lot of great records. Mm-hmm. That was cool for my son. Like, oh, look, Dean played on this too. Like,
sure.
Wow.
You know what's weird? You know what's weird about Dean, and I'm sure
don't judge that video.
Now you know what's the weirdest thing about Dean? When you talk to him, he sounds like a guy that's been smoking 4 packs a day for 35 years. You talk to him, he's like, "Hey brother, how you doing, man?" and then he's like, "What?" It's like, holy smokes, where did that voice come from? He sounds so different than his talking voice.
It's amazing. He's just got a great gift or gifts.
Yeah.
He can do all that stuff. I mean, even his drumming, it's just like insane.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just, and he's a fun guy to be around. Like when I met him, I picked him up, and he had just all that stuff had cleared down, and he's still with his wife, I believe. All the stuff with him, and I talked to her on FaceTime, and I'm like, "Wow, you guys are going?" "Yeah, we worked it out." And he's just like, I won't tell you the detail what he told me, but he did something was out of control, and he was honest about it. Like that's what happens when you do basically a certain amount of drugs, that he did at the time,
right?
And he and her, it's great they're together, and he's sweet to me. He's sweet to my son and everybody when we do productions for Frontiers. So we love Dino.
He's one of the most genuine guys too. I interviewed him somewhere during the pandemic, 2020, 21, whatever.
Right.
And we got into a weird. We got completely away from music, and we got talking about the shit that he went through, and then me with my burn accident and going through getting burned up and all my shit. And we got into this weird spiritual conversation. And at some point, I had told him that I wrote a book about it. And he's like, oh, you got to send me this book. You got to send me the book. I sent him the book. He sent me back just the nicest message after he read it. He was like, this is amazing. And, just when I thought that my shit could be the worst, then I read this and you're so uplifting and this. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is Dean Castronovo telling me this.
He cares. And I think he wants good people in his life.
Sure.
Like he called me after the first Revolution Saints a few times because he had a band going with he went out of his way. I said, well, here's what I'm doing with Faithedge. And he actually looked it up and said, dude, I love this. And he had something he was going to do with Danny Spitz and somebody else and Scott Stapp. He's like, hey man, maybe you could sing with us. I was like, oh, my fingers were crossed, but he went back to Journey. Right. But that would have been cool a bit. It was mentioned to me, maybe it was just being nice, but he did say, hey man, you might work with what we're doing. And, but for him to call and take the time to go out of his way, as it's proof with you too, was really sweet. And I just think he wants to be around good, positive people that care about him after working with him a few times. And we care about him.
Absolutely do, man.
Yeah,
well, dude, let's swing it to you for a minute. I have a couple of questions that I did not ask you the last time. And Revolution Saints is a good place to start.
Okay.
When you've worked with a
Wait, hang on. Sorry, dude.
Oh yeah, right.
Oh, Rad.
There you go.
Oh, there's a good movie.
Yeah.
Now, when you work with a band like Revolution Saints, which you do, and you have, and they revamp like Revolution Saints just did, where 2 of the 3 guys leave and they bring in 2 new guys.
Right.
How? I know in your own band how that works.
Right.
But you do have an attachment to this band because you have worked with them professionally. When they switch, does it feel the same as like when you would switch out your own guitar player or bass player or whatever in your own band?
Well, I think it depends on who you're a fan of. I mean, Jeff Pilson, I worked with him when I was a kid.
Okay.
When I was like 19, 20 here in Redondo Beach at 710 Recording. The Dokken guys, without George Lynch, strange enough, he had quit the band. It was when they were working with Reb Beach.
Right.
It was supposedly my idea to bring in Reb Beach. They had John Norum. Anyways, to make a long story short, I had mentioned you guys should get Reb, and then a few weeks later, Don's like, we get Reb Beach. Anyways, that's a whole other story for another time. But I hung out with them a lot. So I'm a huge Jeff Pilson fan.
Okay.
So I got excited to hear that Jeff Pilson was being Revolution Saints.
Sure.
Huge Pilson fan of what he can bring to the table. However, I think his utilization, I would have wanted more. Just, what I mean? Like, hey, what a singer, what a writer.
Yeah.
I don't know what the schedule was on that album. I didn't co-write any of it, But Pilson, I'm a huge Pilson fan, and whenever he brings something to the table, it's amazing.
Sure.
Whether if that's End Machine or Foreigner or anything he does, and he's a sweet guy, also.
Right.
The Foreigner gig was a left turn for him. The whole Foreigner
wasn't
thing. That's
it?
amazing. Amazing though. I mean, what a great stable gig it was.
It's still weird to see him though. Have you guys seen? Have either of you seen the Foreigner gigs with Pilson?
I have. With Kelly from Hurricane.
Yeah, which is great. He's great too. I mean, his imitation of Lou Gramm is amazing. I mean, it really is. But the weirdest thing about those Foreigner gigs is Jeff, because you see everybody else is just kind of playing, Jukebox Hero or whatever, and Jeff is still a metal guy, and he is still full speed, 1,000 miles an hour, swinging the hair. He's still bringing it like a metal guy. It's really interesting to watch, and it's great.
Well, I didn't realize, when I saw them with Pilsen and stuff, like how many great songs they have.
Mm-hmm.
Like you go, oh man, that one isn't on the right. What a great song. And like Blue Morning, and they don't play these songs, or like
Sure.
Say You Will. And you're like, oh, that's right. They just have, I mean, imagine having to put together their live set with so many great songs, you know?
Yeah.
Pilsen's, he can play bass, he can play guitar, he can sing, he can do keys. So I'm not, stylistically, I was surprised, like you were saying, but talent-wise, I'm not surprised. Because he's
not talent-wise.
Dependable guy. When there's a gig, he shows up. You know what I mean? He went through a lot in the 80s and learned unlike other guys. And, you know, he's a great family. I love Jeff. So
absolutely, man.
Nice
well,
paycheck.
dude, let's bring it around to you finally, you know, to actually what you do. And I wanted to bring this, and I think you and Erik could probably talk about this more than I can, because I'm just guy. But you guys, that's me. That's me with the hair. Yeah, hairstylist for a caveman, I guess. But it's fascinating to me, and you both do it just on different project levels, I guess. You both write songs with the intention of it sounding like whomever you're writing for's history. Obviously, Erik, if you've heard the records that Erik's done with Steven,
I have.
They very much fit the Rat mold. They're a little different, and they obviously they're not exact replicas, but and then you do the same thing. You went into Sweet and Lynch and you listened to it and you said, well, we got to have this much Michael Sweet and this much
George
Dokken / Lynch Mob.
Yeah, it was like a balance act.
Well, how do you find that balance though? How do you process in your mind, I'm writing too much toward this guy or not enough toward that guy?
Or musically even like are you know, because there's the modern metal sound versus the sound that you and I grew up listening to with these guys in the 80s is quite different. The whole production's different.
Well, it depends on the act. So, for example, Clean Break with James Durbin, I modeled that after bands like Firehouse and Stryper. And, of course, members of Firehouse and Stryper were in it.
Right.
So that was easy. I just put it all together, sent it, wrote some great tunes, and they made the record. Now, Lynch Mob and Sweet and Lynch were a different ballgame, whereas George brought me in and had the album done. But the new singer didn't have as much as writing experience, so Lynch was impressed and brought me in to work with them, and which was a pretty cool field day because George is like, "Here's a song," and I go, "Oh my God, this is the Hunter. How would I bring the Hunter into today?"
Right.
One sounds like Tooth and Nail, and then one sound is like Mr. There's a song on there that sounds like Mr. Scary, and Mr. Scary never had words, so my task was to get that done, and it's great. It's when you hear the new Lynch Mob, but you're not going to miss it. So for me, Lynch Mob was easier. I was on a deadline. Like the album was due, and I wrote it in 2.5 weeks. Worked through the holidays and everything.
Wow. How many songs is this? How many songs?
Like 11.
Wow.
Yeah. I crushed it. And then we made some changes here and there with the producer, and Gabriel came through, the singer, last minute and did a couple things on it.
Sure.
But the ones I just knocked out of the park were like, whoa. One is The Sinner. George had sent me this 70s thing. It was done. And I'm just like, oh, this sounds like a gospel song. And it did become The Sinner, and they're playing it live. So that was more not fun, because there's a certain sense of respecting the artist's history, as you know, Erik, to keep those elements. And George, in his mind on the new Lynch Mob, sounds like Lynch Mob. He's done some stuff like KXM and stuff. This sounds like Lynch Mob. Okay. So it was easy for me to come in and go, oh, dude, this is like the Hunter. Da, na, 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 na. You know, and that album was cool. Sweet and Lynch was another beast. That was a lot of work. The record company turned down half the album because they said, what is this? Like, if you listen to Sweet and Lynch, get through the first 4 songs. Those are the ones we redid. It takes this dark, I take it back. You'll never be alone. So 6 to 11, it was going to be dark like that. Like stage diving and Will It Ever Change and It Rains Again and It's Time to Believe is like all double kick and down-tuned guitars. And the label, I think, went, what were you guys thinking? You know?
Right.
So George took the blame in interviews, and we went in and shifted some things with some of the concepts, because it wasn't like the lyrical content that I did with Michael. So we shifted some of it, and then Leaving It All Behind, I think, was one I rewrote with them or something of that nature. But the point is that one was a little bit more work because we were in it like a real band. Like George was shocked that they said, you know,
Right.
you need to go back in. Now you can look at new interviews, and he's very vocal about what happened.
How do you stay? You're at that point. What were you thinking what were you feeling in your heart when they came back and told you that there was a problem?
I didn't think it was something I had done, because me and Michael were very confident. Me and Michael worked as a team very much on that album from beginning to end.
So you weren't taking this on alone. I mean, this is
no.
You know, you guys all liked what you were doing. It was like it wasn't, the blame wasn't placed on you, as you said. George took part of the.
He took all of it.
Yeah.
Well, they wanted Tooth and Nail. So if you listen to Hard and Sacrifice, sounds like Tooth and Nail. They want like second.
The production turned them off. They wanted the earlier.
They
sound.
wanted the classic stuff, and I get it. Now myself, working for Frontiers on a lot of their projects, my idea is to not get away from it, but I don't want to do the same thing. That I don't want to be like, okay, here's another Giancarlo Floridia album. I want it to be all a little bit different. You know, I want you to have a little surprise. Like, okay, respect the classic sound, but let's, like I was saying, will it ever change? I've never heard Michael Sweet really sing about inner struggling that deep. He had one song, I think, on a solo album called Save Me or something that I really liked, and it had that approach. So, you know, when you're in, and George and Michael, George's my favorite guitar player, and Michael's one of my favorite hard rock singer. So I was in it with them, and we got through it, and the label was right, though. Because what if it would have just been all dark progressive? I think the fans would be like, well, we want some more catchy songs.
Right.
So we accomplished it, and it's cool because once you get through those 4 songs, it's like Queensryche Promised Land, where you dig a little bit further into the record.
Okay.
Don't put it down, and it gets more interesting, I think, as it goes along.
Well, let me ask you this, though, because I know me, and again, I'm only coming out of my own stupid head.
Right.
If somebody turned down 4 or 5 or half of my record,
right,
I would be the darkest, angriest asshole going back into the studio. So I'd be like, you thought that was dark? Here we go. And I would be so much more deeper into writing angry instead of, I mean, the songs that you're talking about from me listening to the record and knowing the record do not sound angry. They sound,
and rejection doesn't make you happy to get.
They don't sound like they're written pissed off, is what I'm saying.
Well, it's like anything in life. You make a decision to either have that Rocky mentality and fight back, or you get hard on yourself. And working with my heroes was not going to be an option to give up. And when you're working with somebody like Michael Sweet, he's very positive, uplifting, and ready to go. George was very upset at first, as he has said in interviews that I've listened to.
Sure.
I won't say what he said at first. And he says it in some of his interviews. And we got through it. And at the end, George and all of us recognized it was the right thing to do. These guys, I think, you know, they're just on top of their game.
Right.
And even Stryper, listen to the new stuff. It's like Transgressor. It's like a power metal song.
Sure.
And, you know, these guys, like, if you meet George Lynch, whenever I work with him, his neurons don't work like, see, I'm kind of like he's more like, so you kind of, when you work with George, you kind of have to get on the horse, because if not, it'll just be like a Ferrari, an Italian Ferrari blowing dust in your face. And I think, I'm able to get a grip on it, and we work together well. And you have to be a team player, and you have to think about the fans, and you're going to touch people's lives, and that's what's important to me. So whenever I work on an album, I'm in. Like, if somebody says whatever, or if we have, I don't think everything I do is always gold. I think there's always room for improvement as a writer. So if I am told, hey, you know what, this song, let's try something different. I don't go, oh, what the hell? No, let's try something different. I'm a firm believer in we can write a great song and we can write more great songs. Or like sometimes people say, what if somebody stole your stuff or something? I'm like, well, I guess I'll write another song that's even better.
Right.
This is how my approach as a writer is. And that's the approach I had Sweet and Lynch. Okay, it's a little far out. Well, let's still make the best Sweet and Lynch album, which was my focus from day one, was to make the best Sweet and Lynch album ever.
Now, how does this work? You know, obviously George being the guitarist here,
right?
Does he send you, Dropbox you a bunch of riffs and you kind of pick through them and kind of help line them up and see what can jive together? And obviously you're a guitarist.
No, I mean, Lynch, sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, please go ahead.
I'll show you. So he sends me Lynch Mob. Let's see. So I have a folder titled Lynch right here.
Pull it up.
Okay.
Can't show you the song titles.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, these are funny. Well, here's what George would do. This is
temporary titles on there.
Behind the scenes right here.
Yeah.
So
I like this.
he would kind of give me an idea what to go with. Like there's one that sounds like The Hunter that he listed The Hunger.
Oh, there you go.
Nice.
You know, there's one on here. I won't say some of the titles because they're funny. But you know, little
Tooth and Rail.
Stuff, a little bit like, you know, stuff like that I won't say. So he sent it to me, and it was done. So it had Jimmy DeAnda's drums and Jaron's bass and George's guitars unmixed, so really raw. And I would listen through it, and I had this many songs, and I would pick certain ones first, like the one that said The Hunger. Oh, this is boom, boom, boom. One sounded like. I got the ones in my mind that I knew right away out of the way quick.
It's like a crossword puzzle, right? When you're like, let's do the answers I kind of know first, and I'll struggle with the other ones after and see how far we can get through this.
Exactly. Because certain ones I'll be like, this is kind of weird. Like there was a couple on here that were longer and they weren't fully edited yet.
Right.
So I'm kind of like, and it was the holidays and George was on vacation and I don't want to bug him too much. And exactly, that's what I did. The last ones we got to him last. And some of the last ones, I let them take the last few. Like I'm technically a co-writer on every song, but the last couple ones they did, I wasn't as heavily as involved with, which is like
part of the magic is though the we, you know, and you've used that word a lot as you're describing your experience with them, and that really is the magic. Even if one person is contributing a good portion of the music, it's not the magic comes from the collaboration of these talented people coming together to do something greater than themselves that makes it work.
Oh, completely. And, you know, man, and I'm sure, you know, when you're working on stuff, I'm always learning. For example, there's a song on the album that's very prog. I think it's the longest Lynch Mob song ever done. So what I did is, you know, I'm a big old Queensryche Operation Mindcrime buff and Ex-Japan Art of Life and all these crazy concept records. So I sent him some stuff that was like off the wall, like 2 choruses and this and that. And George just goes, dude, I need something where you can just come in and like sing my song and leave. Like I need them to remember it. Because when I got a 10-minute song, the first thing I thought is, well, this is a concept song. We're going to have to keep them interested. And so sometimes I learn simpler is better for certain artists, or more positive is better, or more heavy. So from each guy, I've learned something. I worked with Juan Crocier from Rad. Did my first 4-song demo that led me to working with Fabrizio Grossi from Starbreaker. And I learned a lot from Juan, how to set up background vocals or dual leads. So I've been taking pieces from everybody I've worked with. And I've learned a lot from George, a lot from Michael over the past year. Like I usually would start singing on my own and I would just sing. Michael showed me something different where he'll sometimes do like a melody arrangement first and then add the lyrics. So I was working on a new album the other day and I was stuck because we do get stuck, right?
Yeah.
And the chorus hit me, and I'm like, I'm going to do what Michael said. Like, I'm going to hum out a melody first and then place the lyrics in it. You learn stuff if you're paying
That's how I write. It's a melody first. It's weird to me when you look at like the Elton John collaboration, and I feel ignorant for forgetting his song. Bernie Taupin. Thank you. Bernie Taupin just hands him these lyrics, and he somehow writes the music, and that blows my mind. Like, no, that's not how I do it. It's his music, and then I hum it, and then and with working with Piercy, I mean, we had a good collaboration with, I would say most of the songs he's able to come up with his own stuff for, lyrically. What I do is just have something ready just in case.
Right.
And there was a few songs where that did happen, where whatever he was going to do wasn't going to work. And I'm glad I had my thing and had even written, the lyrics for a first verse. And then as soon as he had that, it inspired him to write that second verse. And that collaboration worked on the song, and we got through it. But it is a learning experience, and I've also learned a lot over the years. Also in production, I don't know now. What studio do you do this stuff in? Tell us about that.
I do it a lot on this laptop, so I have two ways of doing it. At home, I just have Pro Tools, and then I went over to Win Davis's studio. I haven't seen him in years. He's in Redondo Beach. I was having some difficulty setting it up. I said to myself, like Lynch Mob, some of that I wrote at 3 and 4 in the morning. I would go up, there's a restaurant in Torrance, I'd go, they're always open, and I write there. So I said, I need to make it portable. So I made it portable, and I was having a few issues, and I went to go see Win Davis, and he helped me like set some stuff up. And so I have two ways. One is at my place, and then the other way is portable, where I can put it all in a backpack. I have here's one. I have my Lynch. This is just like So I bring this to write with me because I don't want to bring a US made thing. This is a cool LTD. So I bring this along with me, or I can throw it in my car. Don't break it in my car, anybody, and leave it there and not feel bad if somebody does decide to break into my car. So I made it portable because I'll get inspired, and sometimes at 2 a.m, and my upstairs at my condo, they don't like me already.
Sure. Yeah.
Like some of the Lynch Mob, I think I get inspired. So now I'll go to a mall parking lot. I'm serious. And I'll be singing and I'm like, and so I have two ways of doing it, but I just do it on Pro Tools. I put it on a click track and send it over. I used to go over to a studio. Actually, somebody I was working with Sean Nichols for a little bit. He has a studio in Anaheim, and he was doing some demos with me. But, him and I had a little disagreement, nothing big, and I decided to just do it on my own.
I started out, I got late into the game with the DAWs and stuff like that, but I think around like 2007, I finally got GarageBand and, was able to layer my ideas for Steven and send them, and then, eventually upgrade to Logic. And it's amazing, how much quality stuff you can do at home now. And then ultimately we would go into Matt Thorne. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but in Burbank, he's the Rough Cut. He's bassist for Rough Cut, and he's been a studio engineer for 30 years up there, and he's done a good amount of albums there. Trapped is a band he's done
of course.
As well. But so we work up most of the stuff. I'll just to be able to email Steven an idea when I get it for him to possibly inspire him, and then get into the studio at Matt's. And, typically, we had Greg D'Angelo play on Smash, and then Scott
great
Coogan.
record, by the way. Good job. I've listened to it. So
thank you. I appreciate it. I love doing those for Frontiers, and I was bummed. We were originally supposed to do a third record for them, and I don't. This was pre-pandemic though, and I think Steven had high hopes for something, and it something fell apart there, but it really had nothing to do with me. I just want to let the Italianos there.
Nothing to do with it.
Really,
you know what? Maybe they'll work it out, and maybe I'll work on the videos for you guys. Or something.
Yeah, that would be dope, dude, or a song in the future. But while I'm here, I just wanted to put that out there.
Just in case Serafino's watching.
Sir, if you are watching, I want you to know that I put my heart into those records, and I was sincerely saddened that we didn't do the third one. That had nothing to do with me. I was just the guy that gave the music. I went there, I made those songs happen. I had nothing. Obviously, I had nothing to do with that.
Look, working with, as we know, a lot of the guys from the 80s, when you've sold millions,
right.
It's what's the word I'm looking for? There's ego involved sometimes.
Temperamental?
Swagger.
But things get worked out, so
Right.
maybe they'll work it out. It would be great because I would love to work with you guys on a video.
Yeah, that's where I'm kind of kicking around. I hope things can get mended because they were the right label for us to do.
Yeah.
Steven, and I want to do that third record. Hopefully we could work out something with Mario or something in the future. I don't know.
Exactly. Well, we'll be, what I always think, just be positive and put it out there. And then sometimes I'll send like Lynch Mob. I sent George an email. I was done with Sweet Lynch. He was impressed. He told me how impressed he was. I said, "You need anything else, let me know." And literally 20 minutes later, there's an email in my inbox with me and Gabriel, the new singer of Lynch Mob, saying, "Gion's writing the record with us. He's great. Go work with him." So I try to just put it out there at least a little, like, hey, here's what we're up to, or hey, if you need anything again. Like the other day when me and George were working on some of my guitars that he's making for me, I said, "Hey, that was a great time. Keep me in mind if you have something again. I'd love to work with you again." Maybe it'll come in his head and boom, we'll
Put
do
it out
again.
there.
Yeah, put it out there. Like I heard this thing with Gene Simmons. He said the worst they can say is like no, So
That's right.
I'm a believer in putting it out there and being positive, and just I'm always ready to write, man. So
Sure. Do you have, and I just honestly don't know the answer to this, do you have an obligation or a contractual obligation, I guess, to like offer exclusivity to Frontiers?
No.
So you could, if Dokken called you, since they're on Silver Lining or whatever, if they were to call you and say, "Hey,
John ain't gonna call me anytime soon."
Well, I'm just throwing it as
you never know. You never know.
You never thought I'd talk to you again either, and here we are. So
that's a good point. I won't get into that story, but I'm always ready. And it would, something like that wouldn't surprise me. I mean, I'd have to talk to Don, and we'd have to work some things out. We have a bad history. I'll leave it at that.
No,
and anything's workable if you're respectful to me,
sure,
and you are respectful to my family or whatever.
To the family.
Just be respectful, and I can work with you. But go ahead. Sorry.
Well, no, I was just curious if you. Because you are doing so much work now for Frontiers, if they have an expectation for you not to help their competition.
Well, I was on Scarlet Records in Europe, and I was on Spiritual Beast in Japan, which Scarlet is Frontiers' competition out there. They got Frozen Crown, Royal Hunt, and stuff like that, and they signed me. Frontiers passed on me at first, which is very interesting. It's funny. I won't get into the full story, but no, it's nothing like that. I get a lot of offers to work with people, and I have a standard. Like, is it going to be? It has to be signed. Like, I had a couple of ideas thrown at me that I really want to do with some pretty famous people, but they didn't have a deal lined up yet. It was more like, let's do this together and submit it to the labels. Well, I can't work on something for 6 months and it'd be turned down. You have to come to me with it's signed on this label or that label, and here's what we're doing, and then I can work out something with you.
What if they came to you with just here's a check? Here, I want to do 3 videos.
Well, that's different.
50. That's different. Well, I'm just asking. They don't have the label, but at the same time, you have to give up.
They have his Venmo.
X amount of money if they do find the label, because you've already been paid.
Well, okay, I'll give you an example. Chris is very industry savvy. He's always challenging to me.
Well,
I like it. I like the questions.
Well, the truth is I don't know the answers. That's why I ask, is because I don't know how this all works.
Okay, let me give you an example. I did lyrical assistant on a few albums, which means artists from other countries, they, even though I'm Italian, I grew up in California in Torrance, Redondo Beach in the 80s. So I'm very Americanized, even though I'm hairy. I look like this, but I talk like this. So I did Push King from Russia, which was cool. Fabrizio Grossi said, hey, go over everything, which is cool. Like Paul Stanley sang my lyrics, Alice Cooper, ZZ Top. So I did the whole Push King album. I got paid a flat rate, and that was it. I don't even know if I'm in the CD's credits. I've done that for pop artists in like Sweden. Alex DeRosso, he was in Faithedge with me. He had a solo album, which Strange Dawn did sing on. So Dawn had to re-sing my lyrics without knowing it. I get a flat rate, or, and I take it and come to an agreement. So if somebody came to me independently and said, hey, we'll pay you this much to write with us, I'll take it. But it's got to be right. Like, I can't do this whole, like, I want to rewrite, because people have done that to me.
Right.
They'll ask me for something, I'll give it to them, they'll go, this is perfect, but now can we do this? It's like, well, so I'm thinking about it, because maybe I should work out an hourly rate. It just varies, because now I'm getting hit up more.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Is there, and I'm now I am going to challenge you.
Uh-oh.
Is there, you said
wait.
Who is that?
Is that New Kids on the Block?
Oh, there we go.
Don't judge me.
Hang tough.
That one's I don't know which one that is.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's one of the first ones.
That's the early stuff.
Dude, say what you want. It's very melodic, but go ahead.
That's older. That's older stuff. That's the right stuff. That's when they were older.
Right stuff.
Look at the fashion sense. I love it. Okay, I'll try. Go ahead.
All right. So you said they got to have a deal.
Right.
I'm going to throw the challenge at you. What if it's somebody that you're almost sure will get the deal? What if it's Jack Blades? Jack Blades could sing a phone book.
Jack will get signed.
He'll get signed, but are you willing to put the 6 months of time for him to shop with you?
Somebody.
That's the question.
If Jeff Tate hit me up, or Steven, if you guys had something going, you want to bring me in, I would work with you guys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I would love to add.
There's certain, heroes from your childhood that would, obviously that's an exception or something.
Right. Like if Michael hits me up next week and goes, which might happen, we talked the other day, it says, I got this album that we did talk about something else. I'm not going to lie. We talked about something the other day. I don't think it's signed yet. And I will work with Michael. That's just how it is. So yeah, I would, because it's pretty much a guarantee that somebody's going to distribute it, whether if that's Frontiers or Rat Pack or AFM or SPV or
somebody.
Century Media, Metal Blade, so there's pretty much a guaranteed, as long as it doesn't sound like total garbage, that it's going to get signed. So yes, I would take the time, especially for something like Michael. Like if Michael said to me, he's like family, or George. If George say, hey, I got this weird song, can you, I'm going to do it. What happens, I get a lot of people that are kind of like hitting me up since I'm working at Frontiers, like doing work for them. Because I don't work for them, but I do a lot of work for them. I've had people say, I love what you're doing. Can I work with you? And you get me signed? It's like, I'm getting a lot of that.
There's a fee for that, dude. You hook somebody.
Yeah, there is.
You get a percentage of their whole deal. That's a whole different position.
Yeah, do standard publishing. So say I worked with Jack Blades. We'd set up a publishing thing, do our copyrights, and we submit it to our people that collect for us. I have somebody out of Nashville, and I would do that. But the other ones, I've turned down some really cool concepts, actually. There was two that come in my mind that I can't say because I don't want to mention their name. Yeah. One would have been genius, but he simply didn't have a deal. Well, we could get one in Europe and Japan. Okay, well, let's talk to the labels, or you talk to labels, and then hit me up and I'll do it.
Yeah. Is there anybody that you wouldn't work with, that is, even if they're a hero, and I'm throwing a name not because I'll throw a name out there only because it's not a secret that this guy has been difficult to work with.
Fashion
Or some now, you mentioned him before, Jeff Tate. Now, and I'm going to stop before I go any further and say, I love Jeff Tate, and he has been nothing but super, super nice to me always. So I'm only going on what I've heard is that he's difficult creatively because he comes in with a very hard vision and he does not pull away from it. You know, would you take on that type of a project knowing that everything that you put into it might be pushed away?
This is a great example because I remember when Frontier signed Jeff Tate to that project,
Sweet Oblivion. Yeah.
So the thing me and Michael are doing, it's the same type of thing. It's
okay.
going to be like that, like a Sweet Oblivion type thing.
Sure.
And I remember reading, because that guitar player, Simone, is on Scarlet Records. He was in a band called DGM. And he's a great producer, great guitarist, insane producer.
Sure.
And I read where Jeff Tate didn't want to do it because it was too retro and he doesn't like that anymore. And now, whenever I work with somebody, I'm pretty vocal. Like, what are we doing? So if it was a grunge album, I wouldn't be interested.
Right.
I like grunge music. I remember as a little boy, it destroyed everything I loved. So you can't force me to be a grunge musician. But I can write pop. Even if you want to put together a country song, my uncle plays with Tim McGraw. He does songwriting. He used to do stuff for the Allman Brothers. Anything but grunge, I'll work with you. I just don't like grunge. To me, it sounds like too sloppy and you're pretending like you can't play and it's depressing and it's got any other style, I'll work with you. Yeah. So if Tate said, I want to do, matter of fact, I wrote this song for this band with Alessandro and I told them, if you don't give it to this artist, give it to Tate. This song is like Another Rainy Night. It's incredible. Nice. It's like Empire era, but I think they're going to use it for somebody else. But, you know, as long as it's not grunge, I'm in. Even if it's like dance music, I would do it. Seriously, because I love 80s dance, and I was a big George Michael fan. And anything with lots of hooks and heart, I love it. So, yeah, just no grunge.
No shame in that.
You can't pay me. I mean, unless it was like Soundgarden reunion album.
Right.
You know, which they're not going to call me for that anyways.
Right.
Probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
So you won't be working on the new Candlebox.
I will. No, bro. I ran into, I don't know if I should say this, but who cares?
Yeah, whatever.
I was working like on my phone, like when I'm bored, I'll like log into my phone and do orders, like and stuff. So I was at a hotel and I ran into, I was dropping off an order for somebody. Yes, I do that on the side, everybody. And I ran into the singer of Pedal and Mud at a shady hotel. Better not go on Blabbermouth.
Wes Scanlon?
Yeah, and I was looking. And
Wes Scandalous?
Dog. And I looked twice. I'm like, dude, that looks like the singer of Puddle of Mud, but in like 20 years. I look again, and I go, Wes? He goes, what's up, bro? And he has this little dog he keeps with him. Anyway, so I ran into him, and like, I'm like, dude, are you all right? It was at like a weird area, and I had to call his family, and because I guess his sister manages the band, and I was worried about him. And they're like, he's just going to the beach. Who are you? He's just on the beach. I'm like, I'm just warning you guys. He's in a shady neighborhood, you guys, and I don't know what he's doing. And he kept saying, I like your Journey shirt. I like your Journey. You work with George Lynch. Is George Lynch still buff? And I'm not doing drugs. I'm not doing drugs. I'm like, I didn't say you were doing drugs. I'm not doing drugs. So I called this. I was worried about him.
Sure.
Let's keep this, you know. And
no one will ever hear about this.
I reached out to, I went to Puddle of Mud, scrolled all the way down, looked as man. I was worried about him. Because you see in the press, he's like having problems. This was like a year ago. And then I reached out to the management, I guess the sister man, they made a bunch of excuses. Anyways, so, you know, if Puddle of Mud reached out to me, you know, maybe do a video for him, but I'm not into that kind of music. Random story.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, he's allegedly clean now, so you know, now that's what they say. And honestly, he hasn't been in the news in a year.
He has been doing good.
So
he has been doing good.
I'll give him that. I see. That blurry song is just amazing to me. I love that tune.
There's some some really great written songs he had. I was just more concerned of anything.
He's not a '90s guy though. He's a
more modern
2000s guy.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, I like some of that stuff. I actually, when Filter was looking for a singer, I reached out to their management
To sing for
Was
Filter?
it Filter? One of those bands. No, not Filter.
Nice Shot?
Right with them.
It wasn't Filter. It was. They're all the same to me. It was one of those.
Stone Temple Pilots?
No. What were they called? Hinder.
Oh, Hinder. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I sent, and the management reached back out to me and checked on my stuff, and nothing came of it. But they kind of had some 80s elements. That was years ago when they were looking for a new singer. That might have been like 10 years ago or something.
Are they even still a band?
I don't know.
They're still a band.
Are they? I don't know anything about. I never.
It's like the county fair circuit or something.
Right.
Yeah.
See, that's a band I don't dig, so I would have been all over you again.
You would have really went crazy on me. I was just like, oh, let me shoot it over. But I'm. Back to what we're saying. I'm not a hot grunge fan, man.
Right. No, I get it, man.
And I don't like a lot of this over-processed new metal, too, where it's so fake and all the kicks are perfect. I like nasty, like Rat. I like hearing a little, like, nasty L.A., not Pretty Boy Floyd nasty, but, like, 80s hair metal, Sunset Strip. I love that stuff.
Sure. Well, dude, with that said, though, it's dying here. For the most part, it's dying here.
Yeah,
Gotta go. But it still seems like it's very much alive
in Europe.
Oh, in Europe.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, some of these bands that are doing it, like the Girish and the Chronicles,
right.
That's an awesome sounding band.
Dubai, right?
Yeah, huh?
They're from Dubai?
I'm not sure. I think something that I know Girish
Slobnabia. What was that place you mentioned last week?
Slobnabia from
That's in LA too, actually.
Yeah, exactly. No, but I know they have that sound. Crazy Licks has that sound.
Yeah.
Crash Diet has that sound. Shez Kane. There's a lot of them that are doing that sound.
Big Deal. That band
Big Deal, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of it out there. It's just not here.
Yeah.
I guess my question is why?
That's a good.
Well, they have to repackage this stuff, man. I mean, the bands that I've heard do some of the '80s stuff are doing the cheesy version of it. I mean, there is a way, a balance of doing a newer kind of production or putting a little more excitement into it than what was the standard paint by numbers way of doing it in the '80s. You can play with that a little bit. There's some new production tricks that have been done to help spicing the music up, those old ideas, you could play with it.
I think that the biggest problem, if you had to ask me, would be we used to have KNAC, remember?
Yeah.
So a lot of songs I would hear as a kid would be on the radio. So without radio push, without a big budget from the label putting them on tour with a big band, like when I was 20, Sony, when they were going to sign me with John Kalodner's thing, there was a lot of money involved. It was like, I had to go get management. We were maybe going to go on tour with a pretty big act. So it was just a different beast from the label. They just had more money. And like the labels invest more in established artists because they have a guaranteed sale. So for us new guys, it's a little bit harder. That's what I dealt with Faithedge. Where I was in every rock, I was on Blabbermouth and all the sites, but there was a limit because we only had, Frozen Crown does pretty well in Europe and in Japan. I just saw, but in the States,
we got to put the sexy band together. And
yes.
we write their song for them. They need us, and then we need them.
Go down to the Ultimate Jam Night and just pick out the 50 girls.
That's right. Find the 5 sexiest guys you can get, and we'll write.
And that's the new band.
Well,
I mean, bro, but in LA, it's all cover songs, and I think people want to make money playing music, and the way to do it is play "Don't Stop Believing" till your ears bleed, and "Sweet Child" until blood's coming out of here, and then when they bury you in the grave. And you're still singing Living on a Prayer. I mean, cover songs was a springboard to writing. That looks amazing. Original music. And everybody's doing because they want to get paid, you know, and I understand that. But I do it because I have to be creative. So, but in LA, as you know, it's like you go to a club, there's no original music. So this is the way to do it in Europe and Japan instead.
Yeah, it just is amazing that it's just here in the States. You know, I don't see a sound. Like if you go in every era, 60s, you obviously had, you know, the Beatles and the Stones. You had that kind of rock sound. 70s, you had that sort of Eagles, Bob Seger thing.
Right.
80s, you had all the hair bands, and you had, you know, and if you liked it heavier, you had the Metallica, Slayer, Megadeth, blah blah blah. You know, 90s you had grunge. 2000s you had Korn, Limp Bizkit, new metal. Now, what is the sound
for rock? It's sad times, bro. It's sad times. It really is. And that's why I consider myself really blessed to be doing this, because it's like, what are you going to do? I mean, with Faithedge, I had done 4 records, signed a deal with Universal in Japan for all the distribution, had my poster and Tower Records out there, and I was going to do the 5th. And Ollie's like, dude, Ollie Delvecchio's like, come write with me. I'm like, all right, let's do it. Let's see how it goes. You know, I miss being a front man and this and that, but this is cool. And I think I'm a realist about some of that stuff in the industry. Like my ego is like, can check itself. You know, I just I'd rather get more songs out there, reach more people. You know, I never thought, oh yeah, I'm the big shit. You know, I'm just kind of like, well, I got a talent, I want to use it. And if I can use it on a larger scale with guys that have done it for 34 years, might as well do that.
But be honest, be honest, you still wish it was your band out there
instead of yeah. Well, yeah, of course.
I'm getting to a point now at 50 years old where, you know, after sitting in airports and all this shit, I would like to sit home and write some hit songs for a younger band and let them drag their asses all over the country. I'll be okay with doing that.
You're right, because when I've done gigs at night with bands and stuff, and I'm like, I did some, and I was like rolling in at 2, 3 a.m. I'm like, I like my songwriting gig. You know, you start trying to do that Yngwie kick, wow, and then you're like, I want to go home. I used to be able to go home and hang out with Janie Lane when I was 20 till 3 a.m., go back to work and get through it on 3 hours sleep. Now, there's no way. I would literally have my face implanted in the ground on 3 hours of sleep. Your body changes. I mean, I'm 43, so I can, you know, I kept healthy and stuff, but there are those nights, if I do a gig, if somebody calls me, I'm like, dude, I don't want to be doing this. Like, I just don't. I don't know. Maybe it's because it's cover songs. If it was my own band and I was raking in some cash, I would, of course, do it. Like Striper, when I saw him the other night, Robert was doing this, and I talked to him last night. I'm like, dude, how's your shoulder doing? And they just keep going. So
he looks great. I saw him on the Monsters of Rock cruise. He was super nice to me. He's another guy who like came up right before we played at the pool or whatever. He's like, hey man, come here. He's like,
you give me a hug and kiss.
Yeah, no, he gave me a compliment. He was like, you're a great guitarist or whatever he said. And I was just like, oh, thanks, man. I mean, what a great thing to hear before you take the stage. Another iconic, you know, 80s guy throwing you some props. I was like, shit, thanks, man.
Oh, the Striper guys, I can't say enough good things. They're my favorite. I like them, and my other favorite to work with is Robin McCulley.
Robin is the king. Robin rules, man.
I was a homeless guy in one of his videos. I'm the homeless guy and standing on the edge with my hair.
Okay.
And I produced multiple videos, like Make Me Feel Like Hell. I wrote that script with him following himself through the street. That came from somewhere in here. Frontier sent me the song, and I wrote it out. I had it first where he was going to run into different demons from his past, and then he was going to meet himself at the end, and then we changed it to him just kind of like running from himself. Anyways, so I did those videos, and Alive, I produced that video. And Robin is so sweet. Like my grandma died a month ago. Boom. Hey, he saw something online. I want to make sure you're okay. Very detailed, like I'm
Sure.
like, wow. Or Robin shows up early. He'll bring you like food. You're like, dude.
There you go.
This guy is cool. Him and the Sweets family. And I love Perry, Perry Richardson. He's a lot of fun.
Sure.
Right.
But Robert and Michael, nobody's perfect. We all have our faults. And they get a lot of pressure from having to be perfect at all times. But I have never met so many people that are fun loving, like spend time with my son the other night, reach out to me, make sure I'm okay, because I'm not, I don't know. They're just very caring, loving people.
Sure.
They've helped me so many times. So
Dude.
Striper and Robin McCauley, it's like my two faves.
Dude.
And I like Todd Kearns a lot.
Todd, damn it. Yeah, he's great too.
I was hanging out with him the other week for something we're doing, and he's always a pleasure to work with. Todd's sweet.
He's a nice guy.
Jokes,
He's definitely a nice guy and humble. If you tell him you like something, he's like, "Oh, come on, dude." Really, it's like, I mean, I've had that conversation with Todd a few times where I'm like, "Dude, you guys killed it when you were here with Slash." Oh, dude, come on, he's like, "Dude, come on, man, really?"
And he's not like, when I was hanging out with him was like 2 weeks ago. He'll say to me like, "I'm going to keep you in mind for something." Like he knows Sebastian Bach, and I would love to work with him. I know it'd be pretty wild.
That'd be challenging.
That would be challenging, but he lives in Vegas. I'd be willing to go out there, and I would love to work with him to do a comeback record, like a Tape to the Grind meets. I think I can get it there. If I did Lynch Mob the way I did, I think I can get it there. But he said, I know him because there's some other stuff going on with Boz right now, but he says, "Hey, I'll keep you in mind or I'll mention it." Just, he doesn't have to say that, but he's a really sweet guy. I love working with Todd. And, I get along with the LA Guns guys pretty well, strange enough.
You have to try to get along with everybody, man.
Right.
You have to.
Yeah, or they don't want to call you anymore.
You guys do.
I do. I have to be careful what I say on the show.
I have my run-ins here and there, but I want to go back to Macaulay for a minute because he is the best. And I'll tell you a quick funny story, or not funny, but just showcasing how cool this guy is. So both of you are well aware that when a record comes out, especially on Frontiers, you guys have those media days. And it's usually 3 or 4 days in a row.
Right.
Interview after interview after interview after, and by the end of it, you've done 60 interviews in 4 days or whatever it is. Right. It's like a ton of interviews. So I had one scheduled with Robin. The internet thing was just jacked on both sides. His was jacked up. Mine was jacked up. We just couldn't get it through. And I know Robin a little bit. He's always been super gracious with me. He gave me tickets to go see him when he was in Survivor, to go see him do Survivor tunes, and it was fun. What?
Never mind. That was a dumb joke. Go ahead.
But no, the interview doesn't happen. So I get an email from him saying, "Hey man, can you do it Saturday?"
Right.
And I was like, "Saturday? I know he's not doing it Saturday. He's literally making an extra day so that he can do my interview."
That sounds like he's just a gracious human being.
Yeah, he is. He's great. And he's one of those guys that he's so nice that when you do work with him on something, you will do anything to help him. I will promote anything. If Robin McCauley wants to release a book of him reading phone numbers or an album, I will have him on any show I'm doing to promote it because he's that kind of a cool guy.
Right.
There are no more phone books, Chris.
Well, whatever. The phone, if he's doing it from his phone, reading reverse lookup numbers or whatever.
I would love to work. Anytime I get a chance to work with Robin, I jump on it. It's just like whether if that was Black Swan, his solo stuff. Anytime Robin needs me, that's another cat. Like if Robin said, "Hey, I got something I'm working on. It's not signed yet." Of course, Robin, send it over. Let's get to work.
Well, and the other thing that makes it easy with Robin McCauley, it's always quality.
Dude,
he has not put out
insane still.
But he's never put, his voice can be insane and be on a really shit record, but he doesn't do that.
Right.
He never does that. Everything he's ever put out, in my mind, has been quality. I don't care what you point to, whether it's MSG, Black Swan, solo material, you know, any of these other versions of MSG that he's been in, the Temple of whatever, the Temple of Rock or whatever that was. He's always quality, and that's great.
His work ethic, when we did make Feel Like Hell video, and when I did a live video, he was like running. He was like all this stuff, and he's got his like Harley boots on. He is in. If we need to do a photo session for him for CD insert, he makes sure everything's prepared. We that. I don't hear him complaining. Also, you know who I was surprised I worked with on some photo stuff was Graham Bonnet. I love him and his wife, Bethany.
Okay.
We go out to dinner, and Graham's great. And he had a knee injury or something at the time, and he just didn't complain. And I knew about it. I'm like, is this all right? And Graham's out there doing it. And let's, you know, Robin's like that too, where it's just like, I don't hear any complaints. Like the ego's out the door. So it makes it easy. And I love it when they make it easy.
How many of those guys, like I'll point to Graham. Graham his outward reputation is difficult. Now, I don't know if that's because he worked with Richie Blackmore and Richie Blackmore's difficult, so he put it out there that he was difficult. But I mean, I always hear about certain guys that you're working with George Lynch. I've heard forever that George Lynch is difficult. You know, I know you've had a problem with Don. I worked with Don for 10 years. I did his website for him.
It was a long time ago. You know, it was like 20 years ago, maybe different now.
But I mean, for me, he could never have been nicer. You know, again, different people, different work experience. You're way more difficult than I am. Yeah, you're way more difficult than I am. No.
Yeah, no, it was a long time ago. It was like, I'm 43, so I was like, when I was like 19 years old.
Right.
Probably just thought I'm some punk kid that wasn't going to do it.
But dude, everybody has their bad days.
That's impressive for 19 to be working with people like that.
Thank you. Yeah, Sony was going to pick me up when I was 20 or 21, Kalodner's team. They signed Union Underground and some other bands. I was one of the other ones. And I quit the industry, took my kids, left for 10 years and came back. I raised them and came back and got a deal at 30. So, sorry. But yeah, I mean, Lynch, you know, maybe there's just certain chemistries that go in a certain. Working with certain people, you know, could be that. But Graham is cool. I mean, I like go to dinner with him and Bethany and my kids. Right. So you know, I've only had problems with a few people. I won't say any
Chris
names.
Akin.
There's one guy that I had problem with. I get a kick out of guys that are the newer guys that weren't there in the heyday and they join in a band now and they think they're the shit.
Okay.
So like me, it would be like me coming on your show and be like, I'm Destiny Child. I wrote Living on a Prayer. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about.
Right.
Because I have less problems with the guys that sold millions. The guys that are kind of the newer guys, no offense to Erik and myself, we're kind of like the newer guys that just think they were there in the heydays and that they are George Lynch or they are, you know, they're the ones that I have the most hard time dealing with, honestly. I do. Like, it's like
sometimes that insecurity is what you're seeing.
Right.
It's like the other guys have nothing to prove because they already proved it. You know what I mean? Where the newer people think they have to put up some kind of front or something silly.
I think that sums it up because it's always the newer guy. I'm like, dude, you weren't even in the band when they were selling millions. You're like this new cat in there. Like, you weren't even in the OG version, and you're so difficult. I don't know what that is. But yeah, I know now.
Yeah, well, it is so true. I mean, I interview a zillion bands. I mean, I've literally interviewed like 5,000 bands.
Right.
And the newer bands are way harder. They're way harder because they don't care. That's the other thing. I can interview guys that have nothing left to prove. Like I've interviewed Rob Halford a dozen times. He's Rob freaking Halford.
Right.
There's nothing left that this guy needs to prove.
Right.
And every time I interview him, he is a gentleman's gentleman, a pro's pro.
Right.
Every single time.
British people are kind of like that, though.
Well, I'm just using him as an
They
example.
always seem smarter than us and well spoken.
But it's like that with any. How many times have I interviewed Steven? At least a dozen, maybe 2 dozen. And every time Steven comes on a show with me, he couldn't be nicer. He couldn't be more open. He couldn't be, because what am I going to do to him? What is him saying the wrong thing going to do? Nothing.
It might come back to maybe like I was saying about Dean Castronovo. Like they've ran the gauntlet, played the arena, sold hits and albums. I think they're just looking for cool, nice people in their life. When you go see Jeff Pilson, it's like you see his family and his dog now, and they're up and and it's like I think they just want to have nice, supportive people. A lot of the guys from the heyday, whereas you said like the new guys, I gotta be famous, it's gotta be done this way, and it's just like calm down.
Well, I think too that the new guys, all they see is the legacy of those bands.
Right.
They want to be Guns N' Roses. They're not writing music to be Guns N' Roses, but they can be assholes and they can break hotel rooms up.
Man,
so here we are. And
I have some stories for you that I won't tell.
but you know as well as I do, that time is over. That just that whole mindset is over. So trying to be that today is just the wrong thing. People don't want the asshole rebel anymore.
No, it's like we should all appreciate that we're able to get stuff out that's going to help people. I mean, that's the way I look at it, because you can have your talent removed in 2 seconds. I think that time I spent away from LA and was with my children. And when I came back, everybody was like, you're done. You're 30, you're done. Sony, this and that, nobody going to sign you anymore. And I thought, wait a second. I kept writing, I kept singing, I got better. So it's like, just be humble, because you never know what can happen in life and it changes. Like right now, I'm doing a lot of writing, hopefully more and more. I look at it as like, this is great that I'm doing it. I try not to be like, yeah, I'm going to be the shit. It's more like enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
Right.
You never know what tomorrow holds.
That's right.
Well,
and you have to adapt and things change. I mean, I'm enjoying doing other things too. This podcast, I had no idea I'd be doing a podcast, but gives me a chance to do some creative stuff as well, I mean, and I don't have to leave the house. Shit. We were talking about earlier.
Home and record and do shows. And good luck, everybody. You're in
write
LA,
songs.
right, Erik?
I'm down in Oceanside. Have you ever been down to Oceanside? It's like near Camp Pendleton Marine Base.
So I'm
it's
in
like
Huntington Beach.
I'm about an hour south of you on the 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not even that. Like
you gotta get together.
40. Definitely, brother. I'll make sure that I'll follow you on Instagram, send you a Facebook.
I send you a Facebook. I think you got too many friends.
I will find it. I will find it. I was out of town. We were just playing.
Cool.
Maybe you can suck Erik into this writing camp.
Hey, what I would like to do, like, let's see how everything goes. You know what I mean? Once I have a little bit more play, I want to get together some more dudes from like around here that I can work with, where we can do stuff like, especially he knows, because the stuff I heard you do was very true to fashion, but also competitive. Is that the word I want to use? Like you do write competitively riffs and stuff. I heard it when it came out, because I always follow Frontier. So I am looking for other guys to work with, especially in California, that have the same passion as I do. So yeah, you never know. Let's see how it goes. It's going good. Let's see. Hopefully, if I don't.
You had an awesome picture with yourself with a guitar. You had a sick Gibson V.
The new pictures.
Yeah, that thing was cool.
Thanks. Michael used it, the black and mirror one. Yeah, he used that in the iconic video for Fast As You Can. He had one guitar, and I said, "Well, I got this Paul Stanley mirrored V, bro." Yeah, it's really cool with the Duncan Invader, and I'm like, he's like, gonna just jam on it. He's like, this is so cool. I'm like, dude, using the video. I was like, I'm using it. So in Fast As You Can video, that's that guitar.
Nice.
Rad.
Yeah. Let me ask you real quick, and then we will wrap it up here in a minute.
But at the time,
but it's okay. It's all good, unless you got to go. But
no, I'm okay.
But
I'm Desmond Child, man. I've only got 5 minutes.
Nice.
And if you don't there's going to be hell to pay.
That's right. Let me ask you about James Durbin, who I think is superiorly gifted.
He's such a great
I mean, his voice is ridiculous.
yeah.
That being said, I wish somebody would direct him a little better.
Okay, so Clean Break, I wrote on that, was an attempt to kind of do that.
Okay.
And I think those songs, like I wrote The Pain of Goodbye and No Other Heart, which were a little bit more stripery, dockeny, and like Fifth Angel type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I really dig that. So the songs that I did on the album, I think fit him very well.
Sure.
I think Clean Break is a step in the right direction. And James and I talked. Oh, I'm not supposed to say stuff. Anyways, James and I
might have talked.
It's already obviously I'm working with him on some other stuff. Okay, so whatever. I'm not going to say it's Clean Break. It's something. Okay, whatever. You're good, Chris. So I'm working on some stuff with James.
Okay.
Some of the stuff we discussed was out of the box. I told him, why don't we do something like a ballad that's more like Silent Lucidity with you on it, or something.
Yeah.
Because his solo stuff is very Dio, very Priest, very maideny, and I picture him doing what I like.
Not that. I don't hate that. Honestly, I don't hate that, but I don't feel like that's him. I feel like he was more enamored to work with Chris Jericho than he was working on his own career, because a lot of what and I see him on Facebook or whatever, and a lot of what he's doing is not that. Even when he's just playing gigs around town, he's doing acoustic gigs, and he's using his voice as part of his instrument. And then when he's doing when he's doing that voice, hey, I've got the voice.
Chris will impress you. He can squeeze his nuts together. He does something under the desk.
Not bad.
I've got that. I've got that in me. I can pull it out for karaoke every once in a while. But.
I'm on the same page with you as it, and I did talk to James a few weeks ago. We talked a lot. We're big 80s wrestling fans.
Okay.
So if I see something funny with Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man, same with Gabriel from Lynch Mob, big 80s fan. We just send each other Ric Flair stuff. Right. So me and James were talking about songwriting, and we did discuss what he's doing and how he's doing it, and us maybe working on some more stuff together. And I sent him check this song out. I sent him Do I Have to Say the Words by Bryan Adams. I sent him unknown Richard Marx stuff. I sent him some different type of writing that I would love to see him do. That's still kind of edgy. I picture him at a Def Leppard type of mode. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But him and I have talked about it, and I have written for him before, and we are talking now about some other stuff. So
very cool.
We'll see where that goes.
I would just he's so gifted as a singer. I mean,
he really is.
And I don't say that very often about anybody, but he is truly, truly amazing.
I have it on my phone. So The Pain of Goodbye, when I wrote it for Clean Break.
Yeah.
There's two versions, me singing it and him singing it. So the verse is she was always more than something she was always more than someone. And he's it's woo. So on the songs I wrote, I have a mid-range, and I only go super high when I need to. So we had to kind of transpose the vocals for him steps here, because his voice just sits like Michael Sweet in the 80s. His normal range is just high.
Right.
It's cool when you can blend him. I love Clean Break album for him. I love the Coming Home song.
Yeah.
We can do more stuff like that for him. That would be great. But I know his next solo album, I think, is in the vein of what you're talking about. Where he does the stuff that he did with Chris Jericho. But when I work with James, which I'm not saying I'm working with him right now because I can't.
But if it were to happen,
but if I happen to have an album come out with him again, I would go that direction. He kind of
nice.
You know what I mean?
Yep, totally. Well, all right, dude. Let's wrap this one up, man. This has been a lot of fun, just like the last time. This was a lot of fun, dude. I'm going to put this out there for you. If you are interested, since you're an 80s wrestling fan,
yes,
I would love if you if you were to get a hold of Mr. Durbin and yourself, and we pick any 1988 SummerSlam and just do a live watch party and just watch and just talk
Like
wrestling.
on the show?
Yeah.
Let me talk to him.
All right, because
I am always responds to me.
There's no bigger wrestling fan than me. Like I've had the WWE Network since the second it launched. Like back when it didn't even work, I was still giving them my $10 a month. I still have it. I've watched everything they've ever done. I watch AEW on Wednesday and Friday.
Yeah.
I watch Raw. I watch SmackDown. Sometimes I even watch Main Event.
I stopped watching after the 80s, early 90s. Once Warrior was gone, I was done. But my brother works in that industry.
Really?
My sister-in-law was a champion at Ring of Honor. She's
okay. Yeah.
Guy, that's my sister-in-law. So I've been in the wrestling industry because my brother, he does stuff for what's the New Japan Pro Wrestling?
Yeah.
My brother works with the talent. He's in Florida. They film stuff for WWE at his gym.
Nice.
He has a jiu-jitsu school, and they film it currently for WWE. So I'm connected to wrestling. I just don't follow the newer stuff. Like my brother's friend is a guy named Cheeseburger I've met, and Davey Boy Smith's son, Harry.
Oh, yeah.
He stays with me sometimes.
Okay.
I'm friends with Harry, but I know him from when I was a kid, his dad.
Nice.
So I do like wrestling. I just like the old man. There's nothing like the 80s. Wrestling.
No, dude, that it's a little too real now. Like
they have
you're getting
superheroes.
Well, yeah, you're getting real stories now. Don't get me wrong. All of these federations have the most gorgeous women in them. And that's worth watching all by itself. But it ain't the Fabulous Moolah anymore.
I knew you were going to talk about Fabulous Moolah. She did take some bumps, dude. There's a video of her and May. What's her name? May. They're getting thrown out of the ring at like 90 years old.
Yeah, Mae Young. Young.
I used to like the Flying Bob Angels. They were Japanese.
Oh, yeah.
They were cool. Wendy Richter.
Alundra Blaze.
Oh, yeah. Alundra Blaze.
Dude,
that's good memories.
I'm all about wrestling, man. I love it. It's even more of a passion to me than music. I love wrestling.
Well, let me talk to James.
All right.
Maybe we can do like sections. Maybe we could do like a Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, WrestleMania, SummerSlam thing.
Dude, we can just pick matches if
Eric,
you want.
He's like, these guys are crazy.
Dude, we could just pick matches if you want.
Cat guy over here.
If you want to do Warrior, we'll do Warrior beating Hogan for the belt or something. Just watch that.
We'll watch the match and talk about it.
Yeah, we'll just watch it. We'll all three watch it at the same time. Or I can put it up right here and we'll watch it. And
okay, let me talk to James because I'll get him up anyways.
And then we could just pause on our way through it and say, "Oh, what'd you think of that?" or that's fake or whatever.
Have you had James on the show yet or no?
Not live, but I've interviewed James a few times. You know what? You want to talk about a super nice guy.
Right.
Did a whole interview for him. My mom is the biggest James Durbin fan ever. Like watched every time he was on American Idol. Voted for him every week, like the whole thing.
I loved him on American
Idol. And she's like 75 years old, but she's still watching it. So I told him this and he cut just a personal message to her, which I sent over to her, and I might as well have gotten her Elvis because she was thrilled.
I have an idea. All
right.
I can get James. Let me talk to Gabriel from Lynch Mob. He's a big 80s. We can do like a wrestling.
Yeah, wrestling roundtable or something.
Let me talk to them this week.
Okay. Yeah, let me know because I'm all in for that.
Cool.
That'll be awesome.
Let's do it.
And Eric, you could come in and say nothing because I know you won't know any of it.
All I have to say is I stopped playing with G.I. Joe once they made Sergeant Slaughter a dude.
Oh, nice.
I'm like, I'm out. That's it.
If Eric comes, he can have like the Macho Man outfit or like do the Warrior makeup.
I'll do it. I'll play.
Oh, yeah, it'll be fun. Well, let's do it.
We'll reach out to him. Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. Well, let's finish this one up for tonight. This has been a lot of fun. Obviously, Giancarlo Floridia, writer to the stars. Where should we have people keep up with you online? Is there a place?
I mean, you can join my Facebook. It's like pretty much full, but I think you can follow me.
I sent you an ad while we were sitting here, and I also followed you on Instagram.
Instagram, Giancarlo songs. I have it blocked because, you know, crazy chicks. Anyway, but it's all good. I love you, right? Mwah. What would a rock singer be without obsessive women?
That's right.
Or, you know, the Faithedge stuff can always be Googled. It's got a history of stuff. But I tell everybody, follow Frontiers Records. I'm always doing stuff with them. So
very good. Yeah. Well, dude, this has been fun as always. And everybody watching, this has been fun as always. So, Erik, Giancarlo, thank you so much. And we are
I can do my mohawk because, you know.
Yeah.
There it is.
Dirty,
Look at that.
Woo-hoo. There it is.
I can do my thing again.
Oh, nice. All right, guys. Well, we're
right in here on the CHRIS Akin Presents.
That's right. All right. So for Erik and for Gian, it is me, CHRIS Akin, and we are gone. See you, kids.
Bye, guys.
Ciao.
Stop whatever you're doing and let AppyPie develop your mobile app in about 5 minutes. If you can visit mobileapp.cmspn.com to get started, you will get a mobile app for iOS or Android for your product or service built without any coding knowledge. The problem is that in order to get more traffic, you have to pay more money and spend far more time creating your mobile app. But don't worry. There is a better way. Let AppyPie build your app for you today. Visit mobileapp.cmspn.com now to get started.